if you are anything from a DIY builder just doing some work at home right through to a multinational developer, we all have an enemy in common, which is the price of materials. Hey, what's up guys, Dan Trevidi here, I hope you're all well. So this issue at the moment of materials is getting a bit crazy. So I thought I would do a video on why I think it is increasing, some of the research I've done so I can plan ahead on if it's going to go down or worse, continue to increase. Some of the things that I've done to save some money. So we all know some of the main reasons why these prices are massively increasing. And we saw the start of this really in the first lockdown at the start of the pandemic. And shortages like plaster and cement and wood have all had a contributing factor to that. But there are other things at play here. Things like Brexit, things like lorry drivers, and we're going to talk about them all in this video. And then right at the end, I am going to give you a little tip on what I've done on some of the projects, including the one behind me, to save some money on materials. And this is a catch-22 situation. Do you stop buying, stop building, stop refurbishing, stop your business dead in its tracks just because materials are sky high? And this is not just relevant for developers and builders, this is every subcontractor out there. I was having beers last night and one of my friends is a roofer and he always prices to include the materials. Some of the prices that he's putting in just don't stack up anymore because they were based on materials 6 months ago. And in May to June alone, we saw materials increase by a massive 2% in 1 month, which is incredible. And like for like comparisons between May this year and May last year, we've seen around a 10 to 12% increase across the board. Now, it doesn't matter how big of a developer you are or how small your project is, 10% on materials is gonna hurt either way. But I do think that high prices are here definitely for a little while, maybe not to stay, but there's so many other things at play here, including the pandemic, that I think we really need to take note of. Now, it's reported about 60 to 70% of all the construction materials that we use in the UK come from Europe. And even though there is a Brexit deal that's been done, and I am definitely one that has never dropped that word Brexit into any excuse or any reason, it definitely seems to be a contributing factor to some of the key materials to the recent delays, which is causing large price increases. And timber is definitely a big factor of that. But other things like the shortage of lorry drivers. I went away for a few days and at a service station there was just plastered everywhere adverts for lorry drivers. And look, I have no idea what the hours are involved or how much a lorry driver actually earns, but they're advertising like 65, 75,000 pound a year, which in anyone's book is a great salary. So that does show that we are massively short of lorry drivers delivering these goods. And then recently we've heard of this pingdemic, this massive issue with the track and trace, which is hugely out of date in this easing of lockdown. It was right for the time when it was created, but now it's completely out of date and it's hitting every sector, including the building sector, for materials, getting them stocked on shelves, getting them delivered, and also tradespeople themselves. And then just moving on to tradespeople, one of the other big reasons building projects are costing a lot more is because it's very difficult to get tradespeople at the moment. They're all super busy. And what happens when tradespeople are super busy? They put their prices up. Now, if we look back at some of the stats, we're actually constructing more in the UK than over the last 24-year period. I mean, that is a huge number. Since 1997, we're building more than ever. So there is a massive strain on construction workers, a massive demand for materials, and that added to a pandemic, a shortage of delivery drivers, issues with Brexit and getting the materials over here, a pingdemic stopping the manufacturing process, not just in the UK, but also in Europe and the rest of the world. It is having a massive knock-on effect. And then you have the merchants, the people that sell me and you the materials. You have their ability to deliver these products, you have their ability to sustain a price. which they are finding very, very difficult. And also remembering they're shrewd businesses. When they see an opportunity to make more money, they will absolutely capitalize on it. And you have to respect that as a developer, but also you have to understand when someone is taking the piss. Now, I moved away from a local merchant because I thought that they were just literally trying to cream it off the top when we were short on things like plaster and cement. And I've moved to a national. I bought some shares in the national when they demerged from another multinational DIY chain. And this is actually a great opportunity for you and I to discover who to work with when things are tough in terms of building merchants and suppliers, who the contractors are who will stay with you even if they get offered a nice cherry short term, and also new ways to build and develop properties, which will save you time and money. So we can't really do anything about the Brexit and the pandemic and the fact that enough trees aren't being cut down in Sweden. But what we can do is control what we can control. And there's two main things to look at. One is who you're buying from, and the second is the construction type. So let's start with who you're buying from. So this small project behind me isn't a project for profit, so it's not essential that I finish it really, really quickly. But it's a great stopgap for my guys in between projects that I do want to get done really quickly. But you can see I'm converting a steel barn with loads and loads of timber, and timber has seen one of the biggest price increases out of all the material sectors. And I've been buying my wood from a local merchant for years, probably about 15 years. And one of the reasons being is that they have been reliable, the product is pretty good, and they've always remained massively competitive. But some of this wood here was literally £3.50 a metre, some of the treated timbers that you can see behind me. The merchant could only deliver around 70 lengths a load. And every load I had, when I rung up to place the order for the next load, the price was going up. And I'm not talking about 1 to 2p or 10 to 15p, I'm talking like 50p a metre. And when you're buying 4.8 metre lengths, that's a massive cost per length. And it got to the point where every single order, it was going up so dramatically that I was paying close to like £5.50 a metre. Now, this was a great opportunity to go to one of the merchants that I work with, but I don't buy wood with. And they're a national brand, but they have a very good local touch. And I made them an offer that if they could sustain my wood timber price, that I would not only buy all of the wood for this project, but all of the wood for all the projects that we've got going on from them. And they came back after about a week, so I was very, very nervous. Work had to stop here for a little while, and I was able to secure a price per metre below £4 for all of my wood that size, and I didn't have to take it all in one go, which was great. So I was able to carry on with this project. And then we were able to go to the architect and the structural engineer and retweak some of the designs and some of the requirements for building regs. You can see there's a lot applied there. There's a hell of a lot more to go on. But some of the spec put OSB board in some of the places where you could really use plywood. And plywood is a far better product than OSB. And prices, for some reason, on OSB have gone through the roof, but my ply price, which I negotiated, had stayed relatively low. So I was able to tweak the design, double check with the engineer, and change what we were going to use OSB and replace it with plywood. So that was just a little bit of savvy thinking to save some money and use a product that I can get for a good price and is in stock. So this goes through the whole board of all materials, including some of your finishing touches like tiles, kitchens and bathrooms. It is all about negotiation and moving suppliers if your current supplier can't meet your needs or stick with the price that they've set for you. Even though I'm not a massive fan of jumping ship just for price, service is a great part of it. Use your tools at your disposal. Now, a lot of builders merchants offer credit, but if you're in a position where you're happy to pay for the materials literally there and then at the order, builders merchants are going to love that, because one of their biggest issues is collecting money from builders who don't pay. So materials, if you can buy them for cash, literally straight away, then that's a massive incentive for them to do you a deal. And if you can take a large delivery, so all of your materials come on one drop, it's cheaper for the merchant to deliver them. So again, they're going to be able to do you a better deal. But just a little bit of savvy thinking, but do shop around and use your ability to buy cash, buy in bulk, and get it delivered in one hit to negotiate the best price possible. Now, the second little tip I've got is the construction method. Now, you might think, well, there is only one way to put some timber on some steel frame down, or there's only one way to do some block work, and you would be right. I'm not talking about a different technique to do the same thing. I'm talking about a completely different construction method. So I've got a site which is a really simple, well, I thought it was really simple single dwelling new build construction. But the site needs piling, and the cost of concrete has gone through the roof. And the workforce behind the piling rigs and the ring beam and all of that has all just gone up and up and up. Now, not only does that mean that the cost of the new build dwelling is going to be more, but it also means that as the delay steps in, some of the trades that I had lined up aren't potentially going to be able to finish some of the other work that needs to be done. So I started to seek alternative methods of construction, and one of the key things for me was cost, but the big thing was time. I've lost what I perceive as 6 months in this build. I wanted this project finished already, and we haven't even started. So I spoke to the professionals that I work with, my architect, my structural engineer, and it was agreed that screw pile and steel frame construction, light frame construction, was the best method for this project. And we have now started the process of getting the ground ready for this to start. And I'm being told that within 3 to 4 weeks of the screw piles going into the ground, I'll have a watertight box construction ready for roof coverings and rendering, and then the internal fit out, which is incredible. You think that time frame, the amount of time that I'm going to save, will easily help me save money on overall on that project. And then to add sort of a cherry on top, when I pound for pound compare the cost of the steel frame construction and the screw piles, forget the time for a second, it is actually going to work out cheaper to construct that dwelling than it would be as a standard method with concrete piles and block and brickwork. So screw pile and light steel frame techniques and methods is definitely something I think I need to look into more. And I've got a site which is actually in appeal at the moment for 8 flats, and that site will definitely need piling. I will have no qualms about switching our standard construction method to screw pile technology to get that project built. So that's it from me. Those are my 2 quick tips on how to save some money on this pandemic of material price increase, which is crazy, and I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. But look, if you've got any questions or any other ideas, I'd love to hear from you. Feel free to leave me a message in the comments, and I'll always try and reply if I can. But that's it from me. Hope you found the content rich, and I'll catch you all on the next video.